Arrow, I grabbed this kid in this chokehold, and I went, you got 15 seconds to tell me something I believe, kid, or I'm gonna cut out your throat box. And at that point, he collapsed, unconscious, on the ground. He was like, honestly, the kid was unconscious on the ground at my feet in my audition for Arrow. And well, that's what the director was doing. It was so funny. And I went, is this part of the audition? And he went, no, I think you might have choked him out. And I went, kid, are you okay? Are you okay? And he started doing exactly that. And we got him up, and I said, I'm so sorry, brother. I'm sorry. And he told the kid to go over to the bathroom and wash his face. So this kid left the room, right? He went to the bathroom. And I said to the director, listen, mate, I honestly just got back from Kuwait, and this Special Forces guy showed me a chokehold, and it works. He's like, come on, have a look at this. Come, have a look. I got it. I went, what? You got it? What are you talking about? And we're watching the playback, and you see this kid's eyes roll back in his head, and he'd fall unconscious. And then the director looked at me and he said, it's perfect. And I walked out, and I rang my agent, and she said, Manu, how'd you go? I said, I choked out the goddamn reader. What do you mean? He fell unconscious on the floor, I choked him out. She said, Manu, what did they say? He said it was perfect. I flew to New Zealand, I went to the Hobbit premiere, and the next morning in Wellington I got a phone call, and they flew me that afternoon to Vancouver to start shooting. It was like a whirlwind, absolute whirlwind. It was funny. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Manu.
Hey, buddy.
I was wondering, how did you physically prepare for the role of Crixus?
Well, you know, I told a bit of this story yesterday, so I'll just try to get over it quickly. I was at a point in my acting where I'd done a couple of roles with the WWE, and a role came up called The Smashing Machine. It was about a mixed martial arts fighter called Mark Kerr, who got very big using steroids, and he got massive, and he became one of the biggest MMA fighters in the sport. It's an amazing documentary called The Smashing Machine, if anybody out there likes MMA, to see the very early stages of that sport. It was brutal. It was brutal, but it was an amazing story. This doco is fantastic. Now, coincidentally, a friend of mine at the gym gave me that documentary and told me to go home and watch it. I watched it one night. The next morning, my manager rang me, this woman with this voice like that. She goes, Manu, I have a new audition for you called The Smashing Machine. And I was like, I watched it last night. And she went, what? I mean, look, I'll tell you, some things that happen in my life, I don't know how it happens, but there's some weird shit going on sometimes. But, so, you know, I went in and I read for this thing, and they sent it off to the producers, and the producers weren't interested in me at all in the beginning. They wanted to get a big name actor from America. And then I started getting into the gym with a couple of mixed martial arts guys and doing fighting scenes and trying to copy what was the trailer of the movie and getting his voice right and doing a whole bunch of things. And I put together this tape and I sent it to them. John Noble, you know John Noble who's here?
Yeah.
John was voice coaching me. And John was like, "You're doing so good with this, Manu. You're doing so good with this." And I respect John so much because he's such a real actor that we were just trying to get a real, you know, choke him out or whatever, you know, do it real. So I ended up, look, against all odds, I ended up landing this role, and I flew to South Africa. And Jean-Claude Van Damme was meant to play my coach in the movie, and he was also meant to end up fighting in the movie as well. He didn't show up on his plane 2 days before we went to shoot. And I was meant to do scenes with Fedor Emelianenko, which I would have just been thrilled to do, because Fedor was just the top of the world fighter at that time. And the whole thing fell over. And I ended up with no money, going back to Australia, this big, going like, what the hell am I this big for now? And I literally went and worked on a building site. I told this to half of you guys yesterday. I spent 6 months digging a hole in the back of someone's house so they could have a swimming pool there. And you know, it was great. I loved working with men and getting back down to just doing manual labor and being a worker, you know. It was a good time to be, you know, reflective on some of the opportunities you get as an actor sometimes, you know. And then my manager rang up and she said to me, you know, 6 months later, she said, "Manu, are you still in your hole?" And I said, "Yes, it's getting deeper, I'm digging it." And she said, "I have a new project for you called Spartacus." And I went through this process, and I auditioned for Enemeus, I auditioned for Barker, I auditioned for Spartacus. It went for about 3 months, and I got knocked back. They said, "Oh, they're interested, but no. They're interested, but no." And then they sent me the role of Crixus. And at the time, there was just stuff going on in my life. I don't know, mate. I was able to go in there and breathe life, I think, into that character that had quite a lot of truth to it. And that's what they saw. And they offered me that role, mate. And to be honest, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like I was, look, acting, being a celebrity, you know, doing art. You know, some people just think it's a glamorous job that we get there and we're lucky to be in front of the camera and act like actors or, you know, celebrities or whatever. It's not. When you got to get into a role like that, mate, you got to take it all out. You know, get it all out. And the one great thing about that role is that everything that ever happened in my life, all the tragedy, all the sorrow, the pain, all the struggle, everything that I'd ever been through, I got to use all of that in that particular role. And I just found it fascinating in terms of a way of reflecting on my own life and this life of this character. I often wondered to myself who this Crixus guy was, because he had a much tougher life than me. And sometimes I wondered whether I was doing him justice. But because of the wonderful stunt crew that we had, because of all the involvement of other people in that show, I can't even think of another show that would have had the dedication to the physical and brutal nature of that world and what we did on that show. Yeah, it was such an awesome experience.
Thank you very much.
And then the one thing that happened in that show that really sort of like was the magic moment for me as Crixus was that for so long, Crixus was, "Shall I begin? Shall I begin?" You know, in all of his self-glorification. And then in the final season, he turned around, and on the set it was so beautiful because I'd been working with a lot of these extras for 3 years. And they were all standing there and were leading into the very final stages of filming Spartacus. And I turned around to them and I said, "Shall we begin?" And it was so beautiful. And at that moment I realized Crixus had escaped. And then at that moment where I was beheaded, I didn't have a choice. That was the very final scene that I ever shot on Spartacus. The director did it on purpose. He wanted to send me off. Everyone got a big send-off at the end, right? When it was your death scene, the whole cast and crew and everybody came in and they gave you a big send-off. Well, mine was going to be that death scene. And I was so confused about how I was going to make my choices for that scene because I was very emotional about coming to the end of the show. And I got in there and I was actually quite blank. And then I saw Cynthia, who was playing Navia. And I saw her in the corner of the studio, crying. And I went over to her and I said, are you okay, darling? What's going on? And she said, Manu, I just, her dad, she met her dad for the first time in London. She grew up without her father. And she went and tracked him down in London, like a few months beforehand, and met him for the first time. And then he died about a month later from cancer. And she'd lost him. And in that moment, that's what she was, as an actress, channeling into her performance. And sometimes as an actor, you realise that some people sacrifice a lot, and they put a lot of themselves into a role. And at that time, I thought to myself, you know what I've got to do here? I've got to support her for what she's going to go through in this scene now, and comfort her. And that was my choice. My choice came from caring for her, which was the right choice for Crixus saying goodbye to Navia. So that whole time that all of that stuff was going on around us and they were getting ready with their swords to cut my head off, I was just looking in Cynthia's eyes as she freely cried about her father. And I was just looking at her going, Cynthia, it's okay, darling. And it was such a magical moment because I wasn't acting. There was no acting to it. It was just, I was looking at my friend and we're in that moment. And it was about loss and about her suffering. And me just looking at her going, it's okay. It's okay, mate. You know. Yeah. All right. And if you go online and you look up Princess Navia and stuff like that, you might see a photo of me kissing her forehead. And it's not from the movie. It's not from the series. It's just, and she's sitting, there's still some tears on her cheek. It's a photo that our on-set photographer took at the end of the scene when I got up and I went over to her and I said, darling, beautiful, well done, you okay? And I kissed her on the forehead. And it's a beautiful, real shot from that moment, yeah.
Right, you got
Where we
10 minutes.
10 more minutes, okay.
Yeah. Manu, we discussed this also earlier. During the autograph session. What was it like to star along Lucy Lawless, especially with all the interesting scenes going on?
Yeah. Are there any Xena fans here? How many of you know that I was on Xena? Oh, that's good. You are Xena fans. Okay. What I consider to be my first real acting job, and what really got me. See, it's all about connective tissue. I mean, the industry's about making friends and doing good jobs with casting directors, winning projects and proving yourself to producers, because they're the ones, there's only so many producers in every country, and they're the ones getting the money in to make a project, and they have to have security of knowing that an actor can pull it off, right? So my first real experience as an actor and making a friendship was with Rob Tappert in Xena. Rob Tappert was the producer of Xena. Now, during the process of producing Xena, he married Lucy Lawless. And then he employed me to sleep with her. In an episode that was called Antony and Cleopatra. And, I played Mark Antony, and she played Xena pretending to be Cleopatra to protect Egypt from the Romans. And so we did this whole wonderful episode directed by Michael Hurst, who also directed some of the great episodes of Spartacus. And, it was because of one of the sword fighting scenes that I did in Xena. Because I went on and I said to the stunt guys, I said, these are rubber swords, let's just hit each other. And when I came on, I was smashing these guys and they were smashing me back, and that's not the way it's meant to be done. The safety officer came on board and said, you guys can't do that, you can't do that. But it looks so real that Rob said to me later, when I remembered you doing that sword fighting scene, that's why I called you in for Spartacus years later. So anyway, but the funny thing about Lucy is that having had that love story with her once in Xena, I was then in bed with her again on Spartacus.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, Rob, you know. Invite me over for dinner. No, but it was very respectful. Lucy is the consummate professional actress, man. She's such a strong woman and really fun to work with. You see it ticking over in her eyes, and she's great to work with. But you know, it's a relationship born out of New Zealand television that went into an international show that worked like Spartacus, that I've been lucky enough to be involved with her and her husband, Rob Tappert, who have supported me as an actor. And, you know, my thanks goes out to Bob and Lucy for helping my career get somewhere, for sure.
Awesome.
Hey Manu,
Hey, brother.
everybody knows about the movies and the TV shows, but my question is not about that. I know you like rugby and contact sports, so my question is a simple one. Who do you think was the best boxer of all time, Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson?
Yeah, dude, it is so funny you should ask that. Honestly, it's so funny you should ask. When I woke up this morning, I woke up and I was like 6 a.m. I went to bed at 2 a.m. and I woke up at 6 a.m. and I was completely awake. It's traveling, jet lag, all that stuff, right? I woke up and I was in my bed going, and I started scrolling through my Facebook feeds, news feeds. The first thing I came across was a dedication to Muhammad Ali and what it took for him to beat George Foreman. And listening to him speak, I mean, the eloquence of Muhammad Ali, the incredible freedom fighter that he was. I mean, he wasn't just a boxer. He was a poet, a politician, a man who helped the African Americans have pride and dignity in a very difficult time. He put himself in positions where he was completely outcast from the boxing world. And he said, why would I want to be the champion of the world when I can't even be free in my own country? He made some incredible statements. And then I watched, as I scrolled down the page, posted by somebody else completely different, was Mike Tyson's story. And it started off with him being beaten by Lennox Lewis and seeing how defeated he was as a human being. He was defeated. Mike Tyson kind of shot himself in the foot, you know. But he just had emotional shit to deal with. You know what I mean? Mike Tyson, you know, had a tough life. Probably tougher than Muhammad Ali's.
Definitely.
But then it went back and it showed Tyson coming through his fights to become the world champion, and nobody had a stronger punch than Tyson. You know, Tyson was that energy, whatever that energy was, that signal that went through his fist, it was bigger than anybody, you know. So there's two different types, but it's funny you should ask that question, because I was watching those two videos this morning thinking that exact thing. But it's like asking, you know, who do you like more, Crixus or Gannicus? You know, it's a thing that's never proven, but you know, it's kind of like, okay, Gannicus, I'm leaving. No, but you know, yeah, look, I'd say that. One was a politician and one was kind of like an injured person, but they were both, you know, amazing. Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Okay, the guys, sorry mate, I can't ask any more. If you want to come down and see me and ask me at the table, I'll be happy to answer. The guys who weren't here yesterday, come up on the stage. Come this way.
People who want to come on stage, please follow the guy in the yellow suit, vest, thing, security, there we go.
Holy cow, there's a lot of people. Okay, here's my chief.
Too many girls.
We are about to go to battle. Who wants to go to battle? Whoever's felt like they've been at the beginning of a sort of a face-off in a war. Yeah, no worries.
Oh, frate, se golește sala.
Okay, how many have we got? Holy cow. Is this stage going to hold?
I don't think.
Mate, I've just got to organise this. Come and ask me afterwards, buddy. Everybody, move this way, spread out. Go across the stage. Keep moving. Keep coming up, guys. Yeah. Move all the way across, guys, as far as you can go. There's a lot of people that need to move up here. Keep going.
Nu e așa sensibil.
It's like the bus. It's like the bus. You've actually got to get together and move over. we need some more. Oh yeah, definitely. Nobody misses out. Hey guys, really, there can't be the gap here. We're all fighting them. We're going against them. Keep going that way. Keep going. Join that group over there. Keep going. No, yeah, we do. Keep bringing them up. Hey, you guys are going to have to come back on this side. Just come over and grab a seat. Or stand in the front here. Okay. Something I used to do all the time on Spartacus when I'd get ready for my fight scenes was I try to call upon my ancestors. I'm a New Zealand Maori, and so somehow I believe that we're just at the front of the wave, all of us. That, you guys are incredible Romanian strength. You guys have had some tumultuous times here, so everything that's happened before now is all a part of you guys. So sometimes, like if you were to prepare for something, if you were actors and you were going to do some sort of dramatic piece that was about Romania's past, you know what you'd think about? You'd think about your ancestors. You'd think about the struggles that went on in order to get your country to where it is. So sometimes when I'm getting ready for my fights, more like every time I'm getting ready for my fight scenes or something strong, I call upon my Maori ancestry, and I do a thing called the haka. Yeah. The haka is a war dance, and it's about basically uniting as a force and using the words of the haka to elevate your spirit so that you can leave the fear and everything like that behind. But we're fighting against you guys. Woo! So stand up. If you've got a camera, you've still got to say the words. If you haven't got the camera, you've got to slap your legs. Now listen, this is how the words go, okay? It goes, Kamate, kamate. You guys know it. Okay, after 3, go, Kamate, kamate. Ah, kamate, kamate, kora, kora. Goes kamate, kamate, kora, kora. Now listen, there's a lot more of you than us. So, hey guys, it's our job to outdo these guys, right? Now, you're going to have to come down here and lead these guys. Now listen, this is your chief. Now what happens with the chief out in the front of the army like this is we do this call that goes, Kiarite! It's like in Braveheart, when Mel Gibson's bullying them. So when you do that, when the Kiarite is going, you get down low on your legs and you start shaking your hands like this. And you look at the eyes of your opponent. And I go, Kiarite! And then I go, Kiamo! And that's when you drop it, you go, Kiamo, and you start beating your legs. And then comes the Kamate, Kamate, Kora! Oh, Kamate, Kamate, Kora! Okay, so stop. Now your chief is going to rally you, and I'm going to rally my guys, and we're going to have a haka face-off. Now there's a hell of a lot more than you guys, so I'd expect you guys to be really loud.
It's just an impression.
But you know what? I think we can take them out. What do you reckon, boys?
Not the chess.
Hey?
Not the chess.
No, you just do it as well. We'll walk at the same time, okay? You ready? You take your guys on. Ready?
Ready?
Yeah!
Shall we begin? soft. Well done, guys, up here. Hey, listen, I mean, look at the energy we're sharing. I'm so honored to do what I do, to be able to get up here and share this sort of stuff with you guys. Thanks for sharing it with me.
Thank you.
All right, get off the stage.
Now, everybody down the side. Everybody down the side. There's a safety issue. Hey, brother. I do.
Go down the left side.
Where are we going?
Dai seama. Da. Auzi, să-i zice lui Mircea, nu să bage opțiune. Selfie.